It is now my privilege as president to recognize members of the faculty who, after long and devoted tenure at the college, are entering upon emeritus status, and we have 7 this year. I now ask Sig Barber, Professor of German, to rise. As a professor, Sig Barber's nominal role was to teach his students the intricacies of German grammar and the complex ideas of German authors. But what students remember decades after their Grinnell graduation is Barber's warmth and wisdom. They remember the classes that culminated with home-cooked meals often served in his backyard. They remember the thoughtfulness with which he considered their questions, whether it was about a class assignment or a decision about their future. He always took his students seriously. He took his work as a scholar seriously as well. Highlights include 3 books, a book of grammar, Amadis de Gala and the German Enlightenment, and a translation of a seminal work on German philosopher Martin Heidegger. While Barber was committed to serving the college and spent multiple terms on the executive council, he also thought beyond it. He wanted his work in the community to reflect well on the college. He was an enthusiastic supporter of Grinnell's liberal arts in the prison program, taught multiple courses at Newton Correctional Facility. He served on the Grinnell Regional Medical Center's hospital board and performed and directed in local theater productions. As a part of the popular faculty-founded Too Many String Band, he plays guitar, dobro, and banjo in an off and on-campus gigs. For these and other activities, the Grinnell Chamber of Commerce honored him with an Outstanding Educator and Citizens Award. For his unwavering commitment to serving his students, Grinnell College, and the community, we are pleased to honor Sig Barber. I now ask Bob Cadmus, Professor of Physics, to rise. Bob Cadmus knows that not everyone grows up loving science, but he also knows that the right nudges can make even reluctant learners see the excitement and the possibility that science offers. Perhaps his greatest success at NIH has come through his work with the Grant O. Gale Observatory, a facility he transformed from an idea to reality during his first 6 years on campus. Cadmus used the observatory as a starting point for some of his most important work as a scientist. His research interests included stars that change brightness, known as variable stars, and lunar occultations, events in which the moon passes between a star and the observer. The observatory also has been a busy hub of activity over the years. Cadmus has hosted hundreds of events over the years, and many alumni say they still think of Cadmus every time they look up into the night sky. Students have been similarly transformed by Cadmus's physics teaching. By linking daily class sessions to the discipline's larger concepts, Cadmus helped students see the big picture even as they burrowed into the details. Through his Physics in the Arts course, he brought science and non-science students together to see how different disciplines could inform one another. Even students who rarely set foot in a science classroom likely know Cadmus from the long-standing and, again, much-loved Too Many String Band as well, which performs regularly on and off campus. For helping thousands of people find the very human joy in science and astronomy, we are pleased to recognize Bob Cadmus. I now recognize Professor of Art History Tim Chasson, who could not be with us today. For art history professor Tim Chasson, the joy he felt teaching others about great art and architecture was rivaled only by his delight in working with students from many disciplines. He appreciated both their enthusiasm and the perspectives of the various fields that they brought to his classroom. Chasson's primary responsibility was to teach the history of art and architecture of Western Europe, focusing on the period from late antiquity through the Renaissance. He served as an advisor for students preparing for graduate school in architecture, and during his tenure at Grinnell, he developed a course on architecture and urbanism in Papal and Fascist Rome, and another on architecture and sculpture of Gothic cathedrals. He worked in concert with the French department to teach a course in French on architecture and urbanism in Paris from the Middle Ages to modernity. In addition, the college's extensive collection of architectural prints by the famous 18th century artist Giovanni Battista Piranesi made it possible for students to explore many aspects of Roman history in the art department's recurring exhibition seminars. He was particularly involved in study abroad options for students working both with the Grinnell and London program and the Associated Colleges of the Midwest program in Florence. Teaching in Florence furthered work in his primary research area, the so-called giant Latin Bibles produced in medieval Italy for monasteries and cathedrals. For his passionate teaching and research on some of the world's most remarkable art and architecture, we are pleased to recognize Tim Chasson. I now ask Jan Gross, Seth Richards Professor in Modern Languages, to rise. In her 4 decades at Grinnell, Jan Gross has helped the college live up to some of its most important promises. She built strong and lasting relationships with her students, helped bring diverse and international voices to campus, and strengthened the programs that give Grinnellians the tools to succeed in the wider world. In the course of her work as a scholar of French literature and culture of the French-speaking world, she helped produce translations and publications on contemporary Algerian writers and playwrights. This includes Slimane Beniasse's 9/11 novel, The Last Night of a Damned Soul. During this process, Gross has developed strong working relationships with many of the artists themselves. She taught their work in her classes on contemporary Francophone cultures and theater. And whenever she's able, she finds ways to bring them to campus to share their perspectives, both in class and with the entire campus. She brings the same care and attention to maintaining relationships with former students, many of whom go on to pursue international careers across disciplines. She frequently finds ways to bring them back to campus as alumni scholars, sharing their experiences and advice with a new generation of students. Gross has developed and nurtured some of Grinnell's most cherished programs. She chaired a faculty development program for oral communication across the curriculum, a program that still thrives. She also led the International Studies Planning Committee, a precursor to Grinnell's Institute for Global Engagement. For her efforts to strengthen Grinnell by developing lasting relationships and programs, we are pleased to recognize Jan Gross. I now recognize Professor of German, Jenny Michaels, who could not be here today as well. Jenny Michaels believes in the power of second drafts. She makes every student who writes a paper in her class come and talk to her and get feedback, and then she makes them rewrite the paper. These second drafts are where much of the learning happens. These second drafts are what make students better. And this philosophy that students should test ideas, learn from their mistakes, and grow beyond them is more important to Michaels than any single topic she's teaching in class. Writing, like so much else in life, is a process worth practicing and improving. This lesson benefits students not just in their coursework, but in the rest of their lives. Michaels' belief in the necessity of testing and tinkering is one that she has brought to her own coursework as well. Over the course of her career, she has developed dozens of new courses. She frequently adjusted the reading list, even in her most time-tested classes, from introductory German language courses to a course on the German novella. Her scholarly work focuses primarily on 20th and 21st century German and Austrian literature and culture. In her field, she's made significant contributions. She served as president of the German Studies Association, now one of the premier German studies associations worldwide. She was also president of the Rocky Mountain Modern Languages Association. For her consistent efforts to help students do their very best work and for applying these same philosophies to her teaching and professional life, we are pleased to recognize Jenny Michaels. I now ask Mark Schneider, professor of physics, to rise. From his work as an instructor in a single classroom to his policy advice for college administrators, including myself, across the country, Mark Schneider has spent his career finding ways to help a wider range of students thrive in the sciences and in higher education. As a professor, Schneider developed the discovery-based physics curriculum This hands-on course is designed to build student enthusiasm for the discipline through cooperative activities and real-world lessons. He was instrumental in developing what is now the Grinnell Science Program, which offers holistic support to a diverse group of students in the sciences. Through early orientation programs, academic support, and research opportunities, students in the program are far more likely to stay in the sciences. Since the program launched in 1992, the number of students of color at Grinnell graduating with science degrees has increased by more than 300%. The program has received recognition from the White House for its approach and success. Later, as chair of the faculty and then associate dean, Schneider took the best elements of the Grinnell Science Program to develop new initiatives. As a co-organizer of a new faculty mentoring program, he has worked to provide more robust support to faculty making the transition to Grinnell. He also developed the Partners in Education program, which helps students who have had difficulty during their first semester at Grinnell. Schneider has shared some of the most important lessons from his work in publications, including the Chronicle of Higher Education. For his career-long efforts to help create an inclusive and supportive environment in the sciences and in higher education, we are pleased to recognize Mark Schneider. Last but not least, I now recognize Professor of Music Roger Vetter, who could not be here today. To open students' eyes to the vast and varied world of music, ethnomusicologist Roger Vetter traveled to far-flung locations around the globe. He recorded music and collected examples of common instruments in Ghana and Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe. But most important, he took everything he learned and shared it with the Grinnell community and the world. He gave generations of students a new musical passion while sharing significantly scholarly work with anyone who has an internet connection. Over the course of his career, Vetter taught hundreds of students gamelan, the traditional ensemble music of the Indonesian island of Java. Through one-on-one lessons and group rehearsals, students learn not just to appreciate these percussion instruments, but to truly love them. After gamelan performances, he often invited the entire ensemble to his home for dinner, an event that the alumni recall fondly. Many returned to campus years later requesting to revisit the music they remembered from their student days. To better share his best work, Vetter built websites dedicated to some of his scholarly passions. These include Grinnell's musical instrument collection, field recordings of music in Ghana, and the use of traditional music in tourism encounters. Vetter brought the same tireless dedication to his professional activities at Grinnell. He served 4 times as chair of the Department of Music and twice as chair of the Humanities Division. For his dedication to bringing the vastness of the musical world to Grinnell's doorstep, we are pleased to recognize Roger Vetter. I now ask Professor Dennis Hughes and Martin Minelli to please stand. It is my honor to recognize those faculty members now moving to senior faculty status. Senior faculty status recognizes those members of the faculty who wish to be released from their regular full-time teaching obligations to pursue scholarly and professional activities associated with the college. And we today acknowledge those 2 professors for transitioning to senior faculty status.